Hey guys, so this will be a little bit of a different kind of thing. I watched this movie last night called The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. And the reason I watched it was because somewhere in all the stuff, all the media and information and content that I consume throughout the day, I stumbled across a post, and it was on one of these conspiracy type Telegram channels, and it was pointing out the fact that there's this movie called The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and it was filled with Masonic symbolism, and that it was the last movie that Heath Ledger did before he died. And that's where it gets interesting, because any movie that you look at, especially a lot of recent movies, and actually almost any movie that was really big in the public eye, not that this one was, but most of these movies that are really big, you go back, you look at them again, and you go, oh, wow, that was absolutely loaded with Masonic or secret society or Illuminati or whatever you want to call it, Kabbalistic symbolism. All of these people are the same part of the same group. So the people who run Hollywood, I can't say too much because I'm going to put this on YouTube. So I'll be speaking in code, and I'll try not to get another strike because I just got all my strikes removed from YouTube. So hopefully I should be good to go again there. They are inductees. They are priests of this Mystery Babylon religion. And they are some of the most religious people you'll ever meet. There are very few Christians that you'll meet, or professing Christians anyway, who are anywhere near as devoutly religious as these Mystery Babylon priests are. And you can see it the most in the music videos and the movies that they produce. And I mean, you just look at this picture right here, and you can already see a lot of the Masonic symbolism in the space stuff, and some of this is like base level. Trust me, I'm going to get more into it. But the umbrella and the checkerboard floor, etc. But it's way deeper than that. Okay, and so like you can see here, here's the. It's not a big picture, but maybe this is a bigger one. You can see the checkerboard, the dualistic type metaphorical, symbological, blah 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 stuff going on. And like I said, you can see any movie, and they're going to have this stuff in there. But the reason that I found this one particularly interesting is because it was, as that channel said, Heath Ledger's final movie before he died, allegedly. And that's a whole thing. And that's what this whole movie is about, in my opinion. Is this movie is not, it doesn't just happen to be the final movie that Heath Ledger made before he died. This movie is a celebration of the character Heath Ledger's death, and I don't think he actually died. Okay, I'll just get that out of the way real fast. I don't think that he died, and on top of it, I think that a few of the people who produced this movie knew exactly what was going to happen, and this movie was produced as almost like either a magic spell or a celebration of the ascendance up the ladder that, and quite literally, as you're going to see, that this guy, Heath Ledger, was doing just after he'd done the Joker, which is, to his credit, one of the greatest movie villain performances of all time, possibly the greatest. It's my personal favorite. I can't really think of any other movie villain who I liked more than Heath Ledger's depiction of the Joker, who is a kind of and again, that's again taps into all of these archetypes that they love doing. So that's a kind of a Loki character, a trickster character, a character who doesn't actually commit the crime himself, but he gets other people to commit the crime. Of course, he does commit his own crimes, but part of the mystique of the Joker is that he is a kind of Satan archetype in that he tempts you, and the Joker in his temptations and in his manipulation of the world around you, he gets the worst part of people to come out, and then he gets people to commit their own sins and commit their own crimes and their own atrocities. That's why the big switcheroo at the end of that Batman movie is the fact that he tries to get the two groups of people on the boats to blow each other up, one or the other, to see who it was. And then the way, and this is what this movie does too, the way that you pass the test, which is a kind of Masonic test, is that they don't blow up the boat. They don't push the button and set off the bomb. And in this movie, the same kind of thing happens where there's a Satan archetype, and he's played by Tom Waits, who plays it excellently, by the way. Tom Waits is an excellent musician, and he's also an excellent actor. And I would actually like to see more movies include Tom Waits in them. I guess he's pretty old now. He looked pretty old in this movie. I think they made him look older. But he's so good in this movie. He's terrific. He's one of the really, because this movie isn't that good, by the way. I should get that out of the way before I go too much further. Let me make sure this is a recording. Yeah, we're recording, right? Stop recording. Okay, where's the time? Okay, 6 minutes. All right, sorry about that. So, yeah, I should get it out of the way and just tell you that this movie's not that good. I am not recommending this movie. Most people who watch this movie will not like it. I didn't even like it that much. I was thinking about watching it a second time to really go through all the symbolism and stuff, and then I was just kind of like, wasn't quite good enough for me to want to watch again. And you know what? I'll get off. I'll just click through some of these different ones, so it's not always the same picture. But anyway, it is worth watching if you're interested in this guy and the way that he left the stage, so to speak. As you can see, I'm trying to make this bigger and I can't. He's got these symbols on his head. I haven't looked into what these are. Looks like a triangle with a circle in it, maybe, possibly an eye. On this side, I think he's got a Greek symbol, and on this side, I think he has like a 3, or it's a backwards 3. Maybe I can find a better picture of what's on his forehead. I guarantee there's a bunch of symbolism in this movie that I could not recognize, or that I missed, or that just went over my head, or that I didn't see. But I saw enough to understand what was going on. And in my opinion, what they're doing in this movie is showing Heath Ledger, the man, as a character in a movie, ascending the Masonic staircase or the Masonic ladder to illumination and to become something greater. And this gets really creepy, as you'll see when I explain the rest of the movie. But basically what they're showing is like, this guy's going to die and his character is going to come off the stage, but it's the death of the phoenix. And so what that means is he's going to be ritualistically sacrificed, and then he's going to rise from the ashes as something else. And there's been a lot of guys who've definitely done this, who definitely faked their own deaths. David Bowie for sure faked his own death. I think a lot of singers fake their deaths and then they go on to do something else. I think some of them, it seems like the ones that completely disappear, it's up for speculation what these guys do, but I mean, maybe they go to the island off of all of the maps that we don't see. Maybe they go to Lemuria, or that big giant continent that's in the west, or who knows, right? But then there are some others who appear to take on different roles. So Jim Morrison, and if you're not aware of this is going to sound crazy to you, but it's the truth. It's just, I'm 100% on it. Jim Morrison became Rush Limbaugh. So Jim Morrison died at 27. I believe Heath Ledger was 28 when he died, but basically he's in the 27 club, along with all these other people like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Kurt Cobain, and lots of famous people die at 27. And, I don't know if Heath Ledger doing it at 28 has something to do with anything, but yeah. He died. I haven't seen any evidence that he's playing any different role, but I just don't believe that he's dead. Okay, and so here's the ostensible story behind this thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting alerts and shit, and it's distracting me. I should close Telegram before I start these things. The story behind this movie is that they were filming it, and they filmed all the parts with Heath Ledger in it that take place in the real world, and then there's an imaginary world that goes on behind it. You step through this mirror, okay? And when you step through this mirror, basically, I guess I should just real quick go through the summary of the movie. There's this old guy named who's played by Christopher Plummer, and this is Dr. Parnassus, and he made a deal with the devil. And I'm gonna make this is gonna contain all the spoilers. Okay, so if you want to watch this movie, you should just watch it first, and then you can come back and listen to me talk about it after, because this is from here on, it's just gonna be pure spoilers. Okay, so you've been warned. So he is this sort of carnival type person, and they have a traveling stage sort of set show thing. He made a deal with the devil that he could live forever. He could be immortal, but he had to sacrifice the life of his daughter when he turned 16. And I don't remember. There's plot holes and stuff. I don't remember exactly how all of it worked, but that's the basic story, right? So this guy's been alive for like literally 1,000 years or something, maybe more. And so he's like way older. And then this is his daughter, who there's some really creepy sort of pedophilic sort of like they say she's 12. Like they keep saying she's 12, and she says she's 12, and then she's extremely sexualized in this movie. And then they're like, well, she's not really 12, she's 16, but she's not actually 16 for most of the movie. Her birthday is until like halfway through the movie, and even then she's completely sexualized. And then she even says something like, oh, 16, the age of consent. It's like, Jesus, dude, what the fuck? So, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but let's just say, like, once you see some of the things in this movie, you can see that this is not a movie about God and the devil, because the archetype he plays, it's supposed to be like he's God. And then the deal with the devil he made, the devil clearly is supposed to be the demiurge. And I'll just show you him. So that's Tom Waits here, this character, and he's the ostensible bad guy, but you know the bad guy always gives you the choice of whether or not you're going to choose good or evil, and he doesn't get your soul unless you choose his path. And this happens with a lot of these people. But anyway, what happens is he makes this deal with the devil, but then the devil is always coming back to him and making like these extra wagers and bets. And in these wagers and bets, he has the opportunity to cancel their debts, cancel their deal. But the devil always seems to win. And so he's what happens anyway, basically, is he's got this mirror, and they do a performance, and they get a member of the audience to go through this mirror. And once they go through the mirror, they are on the other side, and it's like a completely different dimension, and it's the dimension of the imagination, and it kind of turns into like a Roger Rabbit sort of thing. Well, let's see if I can find some pictures. And it looks very cartoonish, and it's interestingly done, but each person has a different experience based upon their own imagination, and they have different temptations also based upon their own imagination. So like this lady, she was like really into wealth and riches and stuff, and they've got the lotus flower, I see that, and the cosmic egg, and yada yada yada. But for the most part, like, I'm just talking about how all these people have their different fantasy world, but then in their fantasy world they're forced to make a decision between choosing basically the life of the hedonistic animal or the illuminated master who gives away all of their riches and their wealth and their material so that they can ascend the staircase into, the stairway to heaven that Led Zeppelin talks about and stuff, right? So it's weird that I actually expected to see more pictures of the imagination world, but here's some interesting, like, they all look like kind of like M.C. Escher surrealist paintings. It looks like the imaginary world was created by not M.C. Escher, Salvador Dali. So like it's very surrealist and interesting and stuff. But Hold on. It's interesting. Yeah, the staircase. It's interesting enough that I want to kind of show you guys more pictures of it. So the staircase is this is the one of the most important parts of the story. You can see it's the staircase ascending into. Here's the Enlightenment. The lights up here, right? The dark. It's all dark here at the bottom of the staircase. And you actually even get a further choice where it's like you can ascend the staircase, and you can't see it in this picture, but like the stairs are huge. So like they're almost the height. Each step is almost the height of a full man. They're probably 4 or 5 feet each step. They do get smaller as you ascend, but you have to climb up the first steps, and it's a real struggle. And so most people would give up, and then over to the side, like in one of them, is a bar, and the guy's temptation is alcohol. He was like a drunk, and he goes in and he chooses the bar instead, and then like he dies. Like, I guess it means Satan gets that soul or something. So he chose the path of the vulgar person, the animal. He followed his animalistic tendencies. Again, this is all Masonic shit, and he did not struggle and relieve himself of his worldly desires to ascend the staircase to enlightenment, like you see here, right? And this theme, it happens over and over. So I think I've given a good enough summary of what's going on in the movie. But Heath Ledger, the dude himself, he allegedly, so these scenes where, do you see it's all gross? And so this is like how it is in the real world. It's just nasty. It's dirty. All this is like old. This traveling, there's a word for it, but I can't remember the word. But this traveling little play thing, it's from a different time, but the setting is actually, he's in the modern times, and that was one of the curses of Dr. Parnassus, is that he, here I found the symbols, he, Jesus, is cursed because he like is a storyteller. What Greek is that? Sigma? I don't remember what Greek letter that is, but like that's one of the Greek letters, and then there's a triangle, and then yeah, it's a 3. It's not a backwards 3. It's just a 3, and that's kind of a 33 because it's a 3-sided triangle. It's 3 anyway. Blah blah blah. So, so you can see he's got these symbols on his head, and the symbols like don't come off of his head the whole time. Interestingly, I think he hides them with other things, but they're always there. I think he puts makeup on them and stuff, but they're kind of like the mark of Cain, I guess. So anyway, out in the real world, it's all dingy and dirty, but in the fantasy world, it's whatever you desire. But also, again, you have to make that choice. And so, it turns out that what is it, Terry Gilliam or Gilliam? I don't know how to pronounce it, but he always makes these movies that are rife with all the symbolisms and stuff. He's obviously like really high up, like a very high level Mason of some sort. His movies are like Tim Burton movies. Okay, they're just like packed with symbolism, and there's something else going on. They're messages to the other people in their group, and they are extremely esoteric in that they're telling a story that has a different message for all these other people. And the message in this one, obviously, is Heath Ledger's ascension. And then there's the exoteric. But this movie doesn't work as an exoteric movie because it's just so nonsensical and the plot is so shitty. And I think that's why most people wouldn't like it, is because they don't understand this is not actually about putting out a movie that people are going to consume and enjoy. This is about doing this magical spell or this celebration or whatever it is. I don't, purport to know how these people really think, but that's basically how it goes, right? But Heath Ledger died, see, and the story is that Heath Ledger died during the making of this movie. And so, because he died, they were not able to complete all of the scenes with him. And so what did they do? Well, they got Johnny Depp, Jude Law, and what's that guy's name? Fuck, I forgot his name. I just said his name yesterday. Colin Farrell? Is that his name? Colin Farrell. To play Heath Ledger. And Johnny Depp actually looks like almost exactly like Heath Ledger. They don't look quite the same here, but in the movie, it's like, holy shit, they look so alike. The other two don't. But they're clearly him. And what happens is once he goes through the mirror, he becomes one of these guys. So his face changes to one of these guys, even though it's still him. And what they say is they filmed all of the scenes. This is the story. This is obviously a bullshit story. With Heath Ledger in the dingy outside real world. And then they were going to take a break, see, and he went for the rest and relaxation, and then he overdosed on drugs, of course, you know. Imagine my shock. Just like the drummer of Foo Fighters. Oh, yeah. They make a satanic movie about killing the band members, and then the guy dies. Sure. So same thing with Heath Ledger. The guy did not die of whatever they say he did, but he just takes a break when the movie's not completed and happens to die. And then they happen to get three of the most A-list actors they could possibly find, and they all do these 33% roles of him. And they do 33% each of his role behind the mirror on the other side. I mean, come on. Come on. Okay, so why do I think that this is about Heath Ledger dying? Like, why couldn't it just be like what they said? Well, okay, the story is basically that Heath Ledger in this movie has to ascend, and there's two different sections where he does this, but the climax of the movie and then another really important part of the movie and the imagination part, he has to ascend the staircase into the clouds, into enlightenment. If you look at some of these old Masonic drawings where they ascend the Masonic staircase or whatever. Hold on. I'm spelling it wrong. God, sorry. I swear I can type faster than this. Anyway. So, like, if you'll look at some of these old, these things just gross me out so much, but this sort of thing, these sorts of pictures where they ascend the ladder, and then up here is the clouds and the alignment. And by the way, this with the triangle, this gross thing with the triangle is like all over the movie, and it's one of the main symbols on their tent. It's this gross Illuminati eye. And you can see, here's, I believe, Jacob's ladder, but you can see where this is a strong Masonic trope. Well, they have this in the movie. This one, and then if you put that, and then you have the staircase, which is the other extremely strong trope, and they both lead to the same thing, right? You got to go up, and it leads to the enlightenment, and it goes up to the clouds, yada yada yada, and it looks like this shit, right? This gross, just gross. Just looking at these woodcuts always completely grosses me out. These people are such creeps. So yeah, here's another one. You can see it goes up to the clouds. They've even got their geometry with this one, and it's just ugh. So anyway, in one of the scenes, it shows Jude Law playing Heath Ledger, and he is running from a crime that he committed. He's running from this crime that he committed, and he's trying to escape, and he sees that there are all these ladders that go up to the cloud. This isn't from that. This is the same. This is actually this is like a painting of that, weirdly. And he gets really excited that he wants to climb up this ladder to the clouds, and he completely forgets about the guys that are chasing him to make him atone for his crime. He just wants to get up to this cloud thing. He's very, very excited about it. You can see how excited he is. Then he realizes that these guys are chasing him, so I guess he hasn't shaken off all of the guilt or the, atonement for the crimes that he committed. And once you find out what his crimes are, buddy, it's bad. It's really, really bad stuff when you find out what his crimes are. But he ends up, he starts breaking the bottom rungs of the ladder, and it knocks those guys down, but then it splits all the way up, and he's walking on these big stilts and stuff. But again, he's trying to ascend, and he can't quite make it at this point, but he's trying to ascend up into the clouds. And here they go. They're all going up toward enlightenment. All the other scenes in this movie, at first, it's the people all end up going to hell, and you don't see what happens to them if they don't go to hell, or they go to the devil, or the demiurge is what he actually is. But the people that don't, they give up their material belongings, and then they ascend, and they come out ecstatic. They come out in a sort of passion, and you can tell that they're changed as people. Now they still seem gross to me because I mean that's these people, right? But they've obviously in the movie achieved what would be perceived as enlightenment, right? So they succeeded. They climbed the staircase or the ladder or whatever, and they achieved enlightenment. So that's what Heath Ledger's character in this movie is doing. He's climbing this staircase. I'm not going to play anything because YouTube will just give me a copyright strike. So that's why, sorry, I mean, this is what I get if I play any bit of video. YouTube gives me a copyright strike, and so I'm not going to. So we just get thumbnails like Matt from Quantum of Conscious. I have the same problems. The other part is, anyway, this guy, he's always, they find him, Heath Ledger, they find him, he's hung himself. And he's the Hanged Man tarot card is a big thing in this, and I'm just gonna be talking about the whole movie the whole time if I don't wrap it up soon. But basically, there's a thing where he's supposed to be killing himself, but he doesn't actually kill himself, and he's got this flute thing that he sticks in his throat, so when he hangs himself, it keeps his airway open. Anyway, at the end, he's got to climb this massive staircase, and again, he's still just running from his crimes, and so he didn't actually atone for or like do anything to be forgiven for these crimes, but he still gets to climb up the staircase. That's what I find so fucked up about this whole thing. Is like he gets to the top of the staircase. I can't find a picture of it. Try this one. And there's a noose. There's a hangman's noose, right? And he's supposed to hang himself. And there's like 3 different points in the movie where he's gonna hang himself, but he doesn't end up dying. I can't find the noose. This is another one. This is a different noose. I guess this is from the set. He's not actually in the movie. Here, this is the first one, but he's got this thing in his throat so he can actually still breathe, so he's not actually dead. And anyway, the movie culminates in him going to the very top of the stairs, and then he actually dies at the end. And then what it turns out, what you find out at the end of the movie, is who this guy was, who they rescued, was because they didn't know who he was the whole time. And then you find out later that he's this philanthropist, and he had a children's charity. I'm not shitting you. This is really what they show in the movie. And by the way, he's shown as a sympathetic character the entire time. He's not shown as a bad guy until like the very end of the movie. And with his children's charity, he was like this super mega rich guy holding these gala balls and things. He was harvesting children's organs. That was his crime. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Dude, what the fuck? And you don't know that the whole time. And then at the very end of the movie, he climbs the staircase to his death. And then, according to the story, in real life, he died. Right at the end. And by the way, they did happen to film the scene. Oh, no. I got that wrong. All the scenes in the imagination part were filmed with other actors. And then all the scenes with him were filmed in the real world. I think. Pretty sure they didn't use any. I don't know. I might be wrong. There might be a couple scenes. But basically, that's the story. Is that he died, and then they had to use these other, and they just happened to find 3 A-list actors who did the 33% each, and he's ascending the staircase. The final one, the first one is Johnny Depp, and then the second one is the second one is Jude Law, who's trying to climb up to the clouds, and then the last one is Colin Farrell, who climbs to the top of the staircase and ends up hanging himself. And again, spoiler alert, like he dies at the end. And then you don't hear anything else. And like everything's cool in the real world. After that. And like the devil loses at the end, kind of. And the good guy wins. You know how it goes. But the old demiurge got the comeuppance that he deserved. and the enlightened people want. It's just weird. The whole thing's weird because it almost seems like, oh yeah, we traffic in children and we harvest their organs and do who knows what else kind of heinous shit. Like the end of the movie, it's so weird. If you watch it as an exoteric exercise, just as a form of entertainment, you're seriously going, what the fuck is going on? It just makes no sense. And I'll bet if I'll go back and I'll watch something like Time Bandits, because I remember when I watched Time Bandits a Terry Gilliam movie, right? You ever seen that? Time Bandits is full of this same shit, and Time Bandits sort of takes place in the same kind of world as Terry Gilliam or Gilliam or whatever his name is. I think he's one of the actual guys, isn't he? Terry. I guess not. It's just the cast of Monty Python. It's just like the whole cast of Monty Python. But Time Bandits is the same thing. It's got the fucking staircases. Look, I just thought of this just now. It's got the staircases. It's got the Masonic journey. It's got all sorts of crazy shit. And I remember when I watched it as a kid, there were so many things in this movie that didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, like why this dude gets turned into a pig. And if I went back and watched it now, I would be like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it again. I would probably be like, oh, so much of this makes so much sense to me now that I rewatch it. But I could see how if you were watching it without any, because I was a kid, so it was all just the crazy fantasy stuff, so it didn't have to have a logical plot. It just was like, wow, cool stuff. Like those people blew up. His parents blew up. Like his parents blow up at the end of the movie. He's like, don't touch that. That's pure evil. Like this guy turns to stone, and then his parents, he like breaks apart. This is like the really bad guy. And then his parents, who are ignorant, see, it's already making sense to me now. The kid, I guess, achieved enlightenment, and he understood the true nature of good and evil. There's probably some fruit eating scene in it even. And his parents were totally ignorant, and they like go to touch the rock, and he's like, don't touch it, it's pure evil. And then they just blow up, and then that's the end of the movie, as far as I remember anyway. And you're just like, what the fuck? Now the kid's an orphan. But when you realize that these people are freaks, and they are part of this, they worship this, look, they worship this satanic Babylonian mystery religion, this Kabbalistic, thousands of years old religion that they are the most devout followers to, then it suddenly makes much more sense when you realize that they are conveying a message in signs and symbols in these movies. And I believe that this movie that I just watched last night, this Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, was an actual, the same kind of thing as this. It was a message, it was a celebration of this guy's ascendance up the Illuminati pyramid. And who knows where this dude is right now, or how that works, or how they do these things, or whatever, but I don't think the guy died. And I don't think that Terry Gilliam thought the guy died either. In fact, these guys may have even thought he died. Who knows? You know, I don't know how in on it all these people are. Like when I watched that that slap that Will Smith did on Chris Rock. Chris Rock was in on it. Will Smith was in on it. Some of the security guards were definitely in on it because they didn't stop him. The producers, some of the producers who set that whole skit up, Jada Pinkett Smith, in on it. But if you look at the faces of the audience when he did it, there's the shot that's got the other side and it shows everybody's reaction. Man, everybody looks like they were genuinely surprised. And so I think in certain things like this, not too many people have to know what's actually going on. And there may be a lot of people in Hollywood, maybe they are themselves highly enough ascended up the Masonic ladder to be let in on those secrets, to be let in on those mysteries. And those people have to be kept in the dark. They are not illuminated yet. And so they're not allowed to see. And, they may be just as ignorant as these people say that they are. But definitely Terry Gilliam is like way the hell up on the ladder. and I believe Heath Ledger must have been some sort of high-level dude of some sort. I mean, the way he the way he was able to play the Joker and certain other roles that he did too. The dude was a great actor. I personally think that these guys channel demons, that they harbor demons, and that the demons assist them in their endeavors and things, and that a lot of what you see in the symbolism and stuff is just religious iconography that are put into these movies, and they act as sigil magic, and they act not only to create some sort of spell that affects reality because of the people who consume the media, and conscious beings, people who are like generator beings who, when they when we I think when we take a look at these symbols, a lot of times, especially from a place of ignorance, that we help somehow power whatever dynamo that they have that is constantly moving, that keeps them in power and that keeps them able to manipulate the reality of this world. But I also think that other part of it is just pure arrogance on the part of the demonic entities that they worship, and they're complete like gamma straight up. There's the fruit that I was talking about earlier, by the way, and Adam and Eve. I mean, look, it's just I'm not even paying attention, and I'm just like, oh, there's more shit. So it's like there's the fruit, Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. There's Eve. I'm not sure who Adam is supposed to be. Gluttony. Do you see that? There's the probably the pure state, and then the gluttonous state before that. This is the dude that played Mini Me on Austin Powers. He's actually pretty good in this movie, and they've got him playing this little, like, he's supposed to be like a black kid. He's like supposed to be exploited slave labor or something. So he's doing blackface. I guess that was still okay in 2004. But yeah, I mean, the whole movie. That's the whole movie. And this says 2009. Was that 2009? Damn, was it that recent? I didn't realize that. 2009. Well, this was made even more recently than I thought. You could still do blackface in 2009, apparently. Yeah, yeah, that's about all I got. I just thought it was interesting. If you watch it, don't blame me if you don't like the movie, and I spoiled the whole thing for you already. I just found the whole thing really interesting because I've thought for a very, very long time that Heath Ledger did not die, and he was one of those faked Hollywood 27 Club deaths. And then I saw the other day that this was allegedly the last movie that he made before he died, that it was full of Masonic symbolism, and I decided to watch it, and I was like, oh, I see what they're doing here. I see. This was a celebration of Heath Ledger faking his own death and ascending the staircase to enlightenment. Anyway, you guys take care. Hail Christ.